So I'm just waiting to teach my lessons now. It's 1 minute to 4. My lesson starts at 4. This morning I taught an adult group business English. Then I had a one-to-one with a child that I'd been teaching for a while now. He's gone from like not knowing any English at all to being fairly good now. He can answer a lot of different questions, so that's fun. And now I'm teaching for 2 hours some teenage groups, the after school classes, so I'm tutoring them in English to help them with their Abiturs, which is like the big exam they do in Germany. So yeah, it's just gone to 4 o'clock. Let's get started. So it's now Tuesday. I just finished teaching on my trusty laptop. I only taught this morning today, which is quite nice. It's now nearly 2 o'clock and I finished for the day. I again taught an adult group in the morning. I most days teach an adult group in the morning, and then I taught a few individual lessons as well. And I usually teach into the evening on Tuesdays, but I got those lessons covered because this evening I'm going to see Maisie and Noah Kahan, and they're two of my favourite artists, so I'm really excited to see them. We're seeing them in Spandau at a place called the Citadel or something like that. It's like a castle type venue. I've never been there before, but it looks really cool. So I'll take you with me, and yeah. So I'm now ready to go to the concert, but I've got an hour to spare, and so I thought I would talk a bit more about what my teaching job is actually like. So I work as a freelance teacher here in Berlin, which means that I can have as many teaching jobs as I want, which is quite nice because it gives you a lot of freedom over who you can work for. Like if I wanted, I could go around to different kitas and ask if they wanted my English teaching services. I could also just find people on the street, be like, do you want to learn English? And as long as they can give me like an invoice and I can prove that income, then I can teach them. It means that at the end of the year, I need to compile all my invoices, and the tax return is a little bit complicated because of that, but there's a good system I use called sorted.com, which is all in English and it helps you out a lot, which I've used this year and the year before. And fortunately, I did not mess up my tax return because it was quite intense, the fear of doing so. But I don't have lots of different clients. I have two main clients. One of those clients is a company which provides English lessons for adults. Now, these adults are usually in between jobs, and the German government pays them to learn English in order to improve their job prospects. And this means that the adults that I teach usually learn English around 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, like a full-time job. So I usually teach them for 3 hours in the morning, every morning. Then the second company I work for is a company that provides English lessons for children. These English lessons are sometimes communication lessons, sometimes tutoring lessons. So my favorite kind of lessons to teach are the communication lessons, because the goal of those lessons is to just get the kids to practice speaking and practice using those English, and so we often cover a lot of interesting topics, and I think it's quite fun for the kids, and I like it when the children seem to be enjoying learning English, because I think that's the best way to learn any language. If you're enjoying it, it's much easier. Then I also do tutoring classes where we focus more on the grammar and really how the language works, which is also quite fun because I do enjoy thinking quite in depth about how every word fits together in a sentence and why it is that way. But it just can be a bit more repetitive, I suppose, because sometimes I cover the same kind of grammar topics, such as the past tense and the present perfect and conditionals, and I feel like now that I've been teaching for 4 years, I feel like I've covered those things quite a lot. And what is quite nice about being a freelance teacher is you get to arrange your schedule. Like I said, I prefer teaching in the morning, so I try to teach in the morning where I can. However, because students, like children, usually want their lessons in the late afternoon and the evening after they finish school, I also have a lot of lessons in the late afternoon evenings too, which I don't think is that good, like when you're teaching in the morning and then teaching in the late afternoon evening, because you have that break in between, but it means that you can't quite like relax in that break because you've still got those lessons later on. And I think it would be better for me if I, taught like from 8:30 until 4 instead of 8:30 till 12, then have a 3-hour break and then teach again until 7. But that's something that I could look into in the future, possibly. So yeah, that's a bit about my job. And now I'm gonna go see Noah Kahan and Maisie Peters.
Having such big dreams and having no idea whether they would come to fruition, so it's crazy, it's literally crazy to be up here. You could take me to Neverland, baby. We could live all the magic and maybe kerosene, turning saints into the sea, swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibi.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday. I'm sat at my desk again with my trusty computer, and it's nearly 12 o'clock and I only had one lesson this morning and then I teach 2 lessons this afternoon. So Wednesdays are quieter days for me, which is nice. And the reason that I have quieter Wednesdays is because I also work as a development assistant and I edit learning materials for one of the companies that I teach for. So every week they have a few new learning materials that they've developed, communication presentations usually, and I look through them, make sure that there are no mistakes and that they work well, and I can add any activities that I think would also work well in the presentation. And I really enjoy doing this because I can then use those presentations in the lessons and also see if they actually work well. And also I'm not 100% sure if I will stay in teaching forever. I think teaching is quite a difficult job actually, because it can be a bit repetitive and you need to be really active and awake to do it. Like if I'm feeling a bit low and I just need to edit some materials, I can still do it. But if I'm feeling a bit low and I have to teach, I really need to get myself feeling hyped in order to do it, because you need to really give a lot of yourself when you're teaching. And so yeah, I'm thinking that maybe editing within publishing would be something that I'd be interested to go into. So I really like how, as part of my freelance job, I get to edit some materials because I think it's giving me some great experience if that is the path that I end up going down. But I will also add that if I could decide what I do for a living, then I would decide to be a writer. Writing is always something that I've loved, and I have had a few things published, poetry mainly, but nothing that significant. I'm working on a novel, and also in this past year, have really tried to make my short stories the best they can be so that they could maybe get published. So I'm working towards it. I also love theatre and I'm working on a play. So yeah, I think I have these things in the works, and it's just like that saying, throwing things at a wall and hoping something sticks. So I'm always working on that with the hope that I will have some success in the future. And I should also mention, last night, so I had a great time at the Maisie Peters and Noah Kahan concert. I love both of them as artists and I love their music, and I knew a lot of their songs so I could sing along, which is always fun. And it just is very wholesome to see people on the stage living out their dreams and performing the music that they wrote that is so special to them. I found it very inspiring, and today I feel more inspired to write and work towards my own creative goals. Also, what I love about concerts is everyone is so happy and together, and it makes me feel like humans are so sweet to just stand together and sing songs. But yes, today the work continues, so I will edit some of those learning materials. Maybe if I have time, I can work on my own creative projects too, teach some extra lessons, and then tomorrow is a busier day. Thursdays are always my busiest days because I do a whole day of teaching on Thursdays. which is fun. I'm looking forward to that. Hello and welcome to Friday lunchtime. I have a cheese sandwich. I have a cheese sandwich every lunchtime. Love a cheese sandwich. And I have just one more afternoon of teaching to go. So yesterday I didn't really film because I was teaching all day and didn't really have a moment to film, and it was a good day. It was quite difficult in the afternoon because I had a really high level group and the vocabulary was quite complex. Even for me, I was teaching like about company culture and how companies can be more conservative or progressive or hierarchical or lateral, and how some companies can be a bit more top-down directive or a bit more bottom-up collaborative. And the students in the group have often worked in corporations for a long time, so they often use quite corporate language like KPIs and SOPs, which I am familiar with because I teach business English, but I've never actually worked in a corporation, so sometimes I feel a little bit out of my depth. But I try to stay calm, and also it's okay to admit if you don't actually understand what something is. But then in the evening I listened to Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I listened to it for like 4 hours on the balcony because it was really hot yesterday in Berlin. It was like 34 degrees, and so in the evening it was still quite warm, so I sat on the balcony and I listened. I'm loving this book so far. I have just finished part 1. I'm about 8 hours into the audiobook, and I love Kaladin and Shalom. So good. And I'm actually making a separate video, which is a reading vlog about my experience reading that book, which will be out eventually when I finish the book. And so the plan is to teach this afternoon, then I will probably have a chill Friday evening, and then tomorrow I think I will go out with my partner. We really like going out for like cake or ice cream. 2 weeks ago we went to this cupcake place in Berlin where you can get like 6 little cupcakes, each with a different flavour, and we really enjoyed it, so I kind of want to go back there. It's in a really nice area of Berlin too, in the centre, in like St. Nicholas's quarter. It feels like a bit older than other parts of the city and has more of like an old town vibe. I really like it. Then tomorrow evening, Saturday evening, I'm looking forward to it because I am part of a reading group in Berlin called Feminist Fiction Berlin, and at the end of every month we meet and we discuss a book. That was the book of the month. So the book of the month for August is The Lost Daughter, which I really like and I'm excited to discuss it. I also love the film with Olivia Colman. But yeah, nearly at the end of the week. So then it was Saturday and we decided to go into the centre of Berlin with some friends. And when we arrived, we saw that they were filming something, but it was all cornered off, so we couldn't really see what they were filming. And then we saw the TV tower at Alexanderplatz, and then we wandered through the park, and we saw the Fountain of Neptune and the police. And then we saw the Berlin Cathedral and the Pergamon Museum, which was used in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And then we saw the Bode Museum, which is an art museum and has really nice architecture outside, really good pillars. And then after that, I headed out on my own because I had the meeting with the reading group, and it was really nice. We watched the movie of The Lost Daughter because it was the book of the month, and we also had some wine and nibbles together. And then that was the end of Saturday, and then today is Sunday. I'm editing this video and I'm chilling at home. And that's what a week in the life is typically like.